Hello and welcome from wherever you're joining us from. This is Take on Tech, the only show that tells you about your present and incoming future in technology in a simple and interesting manner. My name is Ayieta and the hashtag is Take on Tech. How nice of you to choose to join us today. It's a pleasure having you around. And to start off today's amazing show is an interesting conversation on animation. If you're a fan of animation, then that makes two of us. If you're not a fan, you can still participate in the conversation because at one point or another, we've all had some curiosity in animation. For me, it's the voices behind the characters. My producer here has it that his curiosity is how the characters come to life, come to reality. What is your curiosity in animation? Talk to us. The hashtag is Take on Tech at KBC Channel 1 across all social media platforms. What is your curiosity in animation? Talk to us. As you do that, did you know that Toyota has cut off 40% of its production due to shortage of chips? Well, this and many more stories in our news roundup. Here is Tech News.
The world's biggest car maker, Toyota, is to slash worldwide vehicle production by 40% because of the global microchip shortage. They had planned to make almost 900,000 cars in September, but has now reduced that to 540,000 vehicles. Toyota's other rivals, including General Motors, Ford, Nissan, Daimler, BMW, and Renault, have already scaled back production in the face of the global chip shortage. A wide range of businesses, from car makers to small appliance manufacturers, have been hit by the chip shortage. The COVID pandemic boosted demand for appliances that use chips, such as phones, TVs, and game consoles, hence the shortage. Volkswagen, the world's second biggest car producer, has warned it may also be forced to cut output further. Shares in Toyota fell by 4.4% on 19th August, their biggest daily drop since December 2018. China has passed a new privacy law aimed at protecting users' personal data. The law calls for companies to get users' consent before collecting personal data and has rules for how companies should ensure users' data is protected when it's transferred outside of China. Tech companies that handle personal information must have a designated person tasked with overseeing its protection, and companies must conduct regular audits to be sure they're complying with the law. In addition, companies handling personal user data have to have clear and reasonable purpose for doing so and must limit it to the minimum scope necessary to achieve the goals of handling said data. Circular economy is the solution for the IT industry in reducing e-waste and creating a positive impact towards a more sustainable future. According to recent data by the United Nations, the IT industry produces over 50 million tons of e-waste each year, of which only 20% of this is recycled. Kenya alone generates about 3,000 tons of e-waste each year, including computers, printers, networking devices, monitors, and other devices. However, lack of e-waste awareness, poor separation, and crooked disposal system have e-waste mixed with ordinary waste in dumps. The circular IT economy is the new alternative to the traditional linear product life cycle, where technology products were disposed of after use and replaced with new ones. The system builds on the principles of sustainable IT, also known as green IT circular, which minimizes the environmental impact of IT products and infrastructure. This system's goal is to discard nothing while simultaneously reducing the procurement of new equipment. Any production is achieved through renewable energy. With this system, discarding a perfectly functional IT or a networking device simply because it's a few years old is not an option.
That has been Tech News. So now you're up to date. Moving on, let me take you to Tech of the Week, where we tell you what exactly computer animation is. It's not as easy as you might think. That's why you need to check this out.
Computer animation is the art of creating moving images via the use of computers. It is a subfield of computer graphics and animation. Increasingly, it is created by means of 3D computer graphics, though 2D computer graphics are still widely used for low bandwidth and fast real-time rendering needs. All animation is based on the same idea, which is making changes to a series of images and playing those images back in sequence. In hand-drawn animations, animators draw key poses and then draw a series of pictures called in-betweens that connect the motion from one pose to another. In computer animation, they animate by moving virtual digital models, what they call posing. The poses they create are translated into coordinates that are recorded on a spreadsheet. The computer then fills the in-between images. These in-betweens are a result of the computer interpreting what motion would move an image from one pose to another, and because the computer can't act, the output it gives is something that looks like a robotic motion. The animator then refines the in-betweens to the robotic motion into a polished performance. There are many ways of filling the in-betweens, but each can be described using a mathematical formula function called a spline. This is where the math meets the artistry. The simplest way to see the spline idea is through a bouncing ball. For example, you can make it bounce from top to bottom with 4 main poses that are defined by setting keyframes. The computer draws all the other frames by evaluating the spline and makes a linear interpolation of the motion. The computer draws all the other frames by evaluating the spline and makes a linear interpolation of the motion. As a default, you get something that moves at a constant speed. It is the job of the animator to bring to life a specific character. They therefore choose what kind of spline will have the desired effect into motion. The computer helps animators a lot, but ultimately, the job is about acting. But instead of being in front of the camera, the animators take the performance and break it down into tiny little 24th of a second increments and express those in an abstract mathematical function. The last phase of film production that takes our movies from abstract to concrete is a process referred to as rendering. It is where the world the animators created in the virtual three-dimensional space of the computer is finally realized as a series of perfectly rendered two-dimensional images which play one after another for 96 minutes and become our movie. Rendering is an incredibly time-consuming process, all focused on answering one simple question: what color is this pixel? A pixel is a tiny portion of the final image, acts like a little window into the virtual 3D world. They translate that question into math. The equation is called rendering equation. It's a mathematical description of how light bounces around in the environment. When they ask what color is this pixel, they are really asking what light is coming through the pixel towards the camera. The solution to the question will be the answer to the question. In this process, each little calculation isn't hard to do. It's the layer upon layer of calculating that makes it complex, but also makes it possible to bring something beautiful to the screen.
That has been Tech of the Week. Now you know that there's some math involved before you get to sit down and enjoy your favorite animation film. Animators take such a long time to make these films, yet we only use 2 hours to watch them. I wish there was a way we could compensate, maybe watch it for longer, but I bet that's why we pay for entertainment. Anyway, let's now move to the interview segment with Grace Githaiga, who together with her guest will take us through an interesting discussion on social media.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for that introduction. Welcome to the interview section of Take on Tech, a weekly program that brings you tech issues and breaks them down in an untech way using an expert. In today's interview, we are going to look at making effective use of social media. Now, we know that a lot of people use social media, but how do they use social media? Is it just for entertainment? Is it maybe for surveillance of your friends? How do you use social media? We have with us Michael Onyango, and Michael Onyango is going to be talking to us on how you can make effective use of social media for different benefits, because he has been in this field for so long. And Michael is the executive director, right, of the Africa Foundation for, I think you'll finish that for us, you'll introduce, because I know you have done a lot of work in communication, you have done a lot of work in communication development, and so please just take it from there before I ask you the first question.
First of all, Gigi, thank you so much for having me back on. I was wondering what I did, because the last time I was here was 2019.
COVID happened. COVID happened.
So it's really great to be back on. Yes, I
Right.
do work, and I have an organization called the Global Leadership Program for Africa. And in a nutshell, what we do is that we ensure that Africa's forgotten bottom millions get access to socio-economic opportunities. These are jobs, both locally and globally. Beyond that, we also give them access to grants. We also give them access to fully funded scholarship opportunities, which are all verified, which absolutely ask you for no money. And just before you continue, I just want to say that our track record is that since we began in 2017 to date, we have shared over 2,056 opportunities across our networks, which reach about 50,000 people every week.
In our conversation offline, you did indicate that these opportunities are shared on social media. So start us from there by just defining for us what exactly social media is and how, in what different ways it is being used, especially by the young people.
Thank you very much. So for the context of Kenyans who are watching us on Channel 1, and I really want to ensure that anybody who is in this space with us, I want to carry you all along with us. So a lot of you are possibly already on Facebook. Definitely all of you possibly use WhatsApp. And then of course there's Instagram, there is LinkedIn, there's all these various other medias, and they're called social media because it allows you to socially engage with other people. But let me narrow it down to WhatsApp, because that is a primary vehicle that we use to share our opportunities. And why WhatsApp? Well, because WhatsApp is actually very accessible to lots of people. And thankfully, a lot of the different telcos have actually got some great offers whereby you can actually be on WhatsApp at a very affordable fee per day. So therefore, it doesn't leave you out in terms of being able to get access to information. So one of the things that I want to emphasize is that a lot of young people, as you have asked, spend a lot of their time on social media. What we have done is just use the same platforms that these young people are on, but to add different layers of information which is also beneficial to them. And I always encourage young people that listen, be very selfish. There's nothing wrong with being selfish. And can you find a way of finding things which at the end of the day, when you're done with being on social media, you as an individual, you have personally benefited from it socioeconomically, whether it's financially or whether it's helping you move ahead with your life. So as I said in the introduction, what we have done over the past number of years, since 2017, we have actually given loads of people the opportunities. And I'm very proud to say that as late as last week, one of our groups, one of the people actually reported back that he had just arrived in Ireland, where he's doing his master's, fully paid for. He didn't pay for the flights, he's not paying for accommodation, he's not paying for tuition. And all this was simply because he applied to an opportunity that we shared on our platform.
There's a young person probably watching you now. They're forever on social media, and maybe they use it for entertainment or, like you said, socially to find out what their friends are doing. In what ways can those looking for opportunities utilize social media?
If you're actually intuitive enough to go online, you can actually dig for them. But we also know that there's a lot of people who unfortunately take advantage of those who do not know too much. Mm-hmm. And they will disguise different things, to take you onto their sites and then collect your data and then start asking you for money and start exploiting you. So thankfully, I'm very privileged that I actually work with about 100 different people who are volunteers who have also created their own WhatsApp groups. And what we've done is that within our setup of WhatsApp groups, anything that we share, whether it's jobs, whether it's scholarships, whether it is fellowships, whether it's grants, we make sure that it's actually verified information so that then people are not getting caught up within a scenario where whatever they're probably consuming or what it is that they want to apply for is not validated. It has taken us a lot to reach here, and I must say that I'm just the face, but to be very honest, without the other 99 people who I work with, none of this would have ever happened. So it is through them that we've managed to reach every single corner of this country, all the 47 counties. We have people who actually get access to these opportunities that I've actually told you about. We've got people who have gotten jobs and they've been very shocked and surprised. They said, I got the job without knowing anybody.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Michael, you'll be telling us, because you use WhatsApp, and we know that WhatsApp sometimes is for closed groups, you will be telling the young people how they can get to join such WhatsApp groups.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. Take on Tech takes a short break, and when we return, we continue with this conversation. Please follow us on all our social media handles, and it's KBC Channel 1 across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Welcome back to Take on Tech, a weekly show that brings you technological concepts and debates and breaks them in an untech way using an expert. So in today's program, we are looking at what effective use of social media, and we have with us Michael Onyango from the Global Leadership Program. My name is Grace Githaiga. Please remember to follow us on all our social media handles, and it's at KBC TV. Now, Michael, when we were going on break, we were talking about how people are using WhatsApp platforms to get opportunities, and we were at that thought. Please expound on that and tell us then, because there are those who are not on social media, but what are the positives of being on social media?
So, so social media, first and foremost, is that if you have a phone and if you have a smartphone and they're fairly affordable now, you can actually get on social media. It's actually the statistics that are actually out there show that a lot of Kenyans are actually on social media, especially the age group that you're speaking about. So it's just what you're doing on social media that's important. You asked that how do they get access to these groups and everything else. We keep trying to expand our groups because a group can only take 257 people. So I would encourage people that if you want to form your own group so that we can expand opportunities to you, please just get onto my LinkedIn page, inbox me, and we'll see how to help you set up so that other people can also have access to these opportunities that we've just spoken about. And very importantly, I think we must also know that your competition is not your neighbor or is not the person you went to school with. Once you're on social media, your competition is anyone from around the world. It could be a person in Beijing, it could be a person in Sao Paulo, in South America, it could be a person in Toronto, in Canada, or a person in Birmingham, in the UK. So, but the great thing is that our young people have shown that they have the skill set, they have the know-how, they have what it takes to be able to compete effectively with everybody else from around the globe. Very positively, and I want to bring up this, about 3 weeks or so ago, somebody had written CNBC News had reported an article which is very lopsided, saying that Kenyans were helping people cheat. It's not a fact. Kenyans are smart. And the thing is, that the fact that we are the ones who are ensuring that people who are in the top universities in the US are graduating tells you who we are and what we have here.
Right.
So, again, that's just an example of our prowess as a people and as young people. So this is how you can use social media to earn money and to do other things and to do other assignments. And let's call it what it is. It is not that we're helping people cheat. If somebody has given you a contract and has given you work to do, and you've done it for them, then the onus is on them to take care of their end and not to blame us as Kenyans.
Correct.
Yes.
And I think technology has facilitated a lot of that work. Now, one of the challenges of using of social media is verification, and you alluded to that earlier in the program. So how do people verify that this is legitimate information? Because there's also too much information.
That is very true. And
Yeah.
so on all our platforms, like I said, so whenever we have like the scholarships which are free, or any opportunity like the grants or the fellowships that you heard me speak about, like I told you that to date we've shared 2,056 since 2017. We will always put it, we'll always label it as a bulletin, as a Global Leadership Program bulletin, number 257 for the next one. And we will brand it so that you know that once you see that brand on, that information that we've shared for you is verified, and you can comfortably go and apply without having any qualms or any problems by thinking that it's a scam. And that's because, like I told you, a lot of us do a lot of background research to ensure that by the time we're labeling it and we're putting it out as a Global Leadership Program opportunity, we have verified that this is genuine information, so that we can help in terms of people not being conned or being misled by a lot of unscrupulous people who actually exist on the internet.
Okay, apart from what you do at the Global Africa Program, would you have tips that probably you can advise young people when they find that this opportunity has been shared on WhatsApp or even on Facebook? Like, what would they look out for to tell whether it's legitimate? Because I've seen a lot of opportunities shared, but they actually,
that's difficult, because the scammers have even gotten much smarter these days in terms of disguising themselves. So, like they'll just change one word. For example, like, if it's, let's pretend that it was CBN Bank. They'd have bank with a double K, and you'd miss that double K. So there's little subtle things that they do which really can confuse you. The best thing I'll say is that, ask about 2 or 3 other people also. That would be the best thing to do, so they can also like help you counter check. Because beyond that, like I said, the scammers have gotten very, very smart at trying to disguise themselves. So we do our bit, but even you as a young person, or anybody who's being online, really keep your antennas up and really be vigilant. And by the way, but this is it. If you're asked for money, it's a con. Stay away from it.
Thank you very much for gracing the interview section today, and for giving us those tips on how to make effective use of social media. We've been talking to Michael Onyango from the Africa Global Program, and I hope you have learned something. My name is Grace Githaiga. Please, let's continue this conversation on our social media handles.
That has been the interview segment with Grace Githaiga. I hope you've taken something. Like, you need to be cautious on whatever you post on social media, because employers go back to check. And remember, the internet never forgets. So don't let what you post haunt you later. And now, let me take you to the Innovators Club. And today we feature a young animator who's about to take us through an animator's journey, what it takes to create an animation film. Here is McDonald.
My name is McDonald Donkundi. I'm a 3D multimedia artist. Been doing this for around 3 years now, from 2017. Being a 3D media artist entails so many things. There are so many areas of specialty. Like, you can specialize in one area. There are like steps that we do when you are being a 3D artist. So basically, you start from the modeling, rigging, the lighting. There are so many steps, so it depends on which area you want to specialize most. Personally, I've specialized in 3D modeling and lighting and a bit of animation. Basically, animation is a long process, but to cut it short, you must have a sketchbook. You put down an idea, take part on how the models will be, the environment, and possibly the actions that the character will take. So basically you'll start from modeling, then you come to rigging of the character, and then you come down to the placing of the character in the 3D setup. You do the lighting, the animating, then there's the final processes, you render, then you do the post-production. Modeling is self-explanatory. You know, when you were kids, you are given the modeling clay, then you just model maybe a doll. Basically, that's what is modeling. But now, you do it in a computer software. Yeah, maybe you start with the character, modeling the head, the hands, and then you join to make a whole complete person.
So that
You have modeled, there's this process called rigging. Rigging is basically putting the model in its own skeleton. Yeah. So you rig, you do the character, you put the skeleton, you assign the. Actually, it's like assigning joints to the character. So when you move this joint, it will do what you want. Yeah. For the voicing, that one you record. You have a voiceover artist, you pre-record in a studio. Then during the animation, there is something we call a lip sync. Basically, that's you just do a lip sync of the recorded voiceover to the character's mouth movements. For a film to be complete, it will roughly take about 4 years. That's for a 1 hour or 2 hours video that you'll just sit once and watch. Personally, I have a few projects, but I won't release them now because they have some issues, but possibly with time you'll start seeing some of them. For a 2D animation, it's cheap and it's easier. That one a person can do roughly for a clip, like 30 minutes, you can work for it on a month. Yeah, and it's easier. It's something maybe if you make a mistake, you can easily correct it. You can go back a step. For 3D, it's quite challenging because the processes are many. Like I've said, you have to model, you have to do the rigging, the modeling, the setups. There are other things like animating the wind, those are nodes. Yeah. And it takes a lot of time to come up with the output.
draws the curtain on today's show. In case you've been left out, the conversation going round is, what have you been curious about in animation? Talk to us across all social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 using the hashtag #TakeOnTech. I've been your host, Stephanie Ayieta. You can get me on Instagram at Stephanie_Ayieta and Stephanie Ayieta across all other social media platforms. Let's meet next week. Until then, keep it tech. Adios.